What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Mountain Charm Cattle Farm. Today we're going to release our cows into the back pasture. But first, we got to feed these chickens real quick. What are you girls doing? Oh my goodness. What are you doing? What are you doing? Who's a good girl? Who's a good girl? Over the course of the past few days, we've been working on fencing in our far back pasture, which is going to be awesome. I'm super excited about it, but we're doing that so we can move our Highland bull and his 3 heifers back there, and our big cow and the 2 calves can stay up front. As you can see, Ava just kind of walks right up to the fence where the other ones are. While there is a little strand of electric right there, you know, I don't want anybody busting through and getting pregnant when they don't need to be pregnant.
Yeah, something goes in there.
Okay. How about a pocket knife?
Oh, it can work. Whoa!
So the first thing that we had to do was measure out that back pasture. That way we knew exactly how many T-posts we had to have. And while this is draining, I'll let you check that out. So what I've been using is just this simple measuring wheel. It measures about 10,000 feet. I looked around and I was using some of that GPS stuff, but it just didn't seem to be as accurate as being out here on the ground. So walking the pasture where I plan on putting the T-posts, I can get fairly accurate with this little wheel, and it was pretty cheap. It's just one of those ones that you can pick up at Walmart. And with this pasture back here, we're looking at approximately 657 feet that we need to fence. On the other side, there's already 5-strand barbed wire, which has been holding all the cows pretty easy. So all we're gonna do is just put in 2 strands of poly wire on this side. All right, so now our tank is all cleaned out. We'll go ahead and move this to the back pasture, try and find a good spot to put it. Now, the next thing that we had to do as far as fencing in this back pasture was go get all of our posts, including our wooden posts, our T-posts, and all of our electric wire. So we went and picked up all of our supplies yesterday. We needed 65 T-posts. We went ahead and picked up 5 more fencing posts, just like the wooden ones right here behind me, which we're gonna go ahead and pull off of this one right here because we wanna have an access point right here next to the creek, but we don't want to block that off because we've got another gate that goes up to the top pasture. The first thing we need to do is remeasure our fence posts where we're wanting to put them in the ground, because initially I had decided to put a 10-foot gate here, but then when I got to the store I decided to go ahead and pick up a 12-foot gate. That way we just have a little bit of extra leeway right here as we're coming across this creek in the event that we ever do get some form of bigger piece of equipment than old Eleanor back here. So we are putting up H bracing, which you can kind of see behind me. We're not putting any twitch wires on it though, just because we're not putting any tension on this. If we decide to put some high tensile fence up in the future or some other type of field fencing, then I can always add the twitch wire. That's my thought process though. But anyway, let's go ahead and get this hole dug. That way we can get these poles set. I didn't hit it here. This one's got some. So we dug 20 inches down just because we're super rocky. I always shoot for 24 inches, but sometimes I just can't get there. 20 inches where we made it today. I'm happy with that. And then we cut above the ground approximately 4.5 feet. So when I'm doing the pole, I'll measure 4.5 feet, and then whatever depth that I hit will come off of that final 4.5 foot mark. That way I always have 4.5 feet above the ground. But then we're gonna go ahead and backfill the hole right now with some Quickcrete. I don't have the same relationship that Jen has with her. All right, so now we got to move this bunk feeder over into the other pasture now that we got the trough over there. We still do grain every night for now. Come to me, little one. All right, so once we got all of those posts set, we let them sit out overnight and let that concrete get real hard. Then the next morning we came out and we started setting all of our T-posts. Oh, y'all got it all slobbery. Now we're gonna go ahead and start running our T-posts throughout the field, just along the edge, and we're gonna be separating them about every 10 feet or so. And luckily it's all nice and shady, as you can tell right now. So it won't get too hot. I think today is supposed to get up to, it's supposed to be the hottest day we've had probably since we've been here, and that's about 92 degrees. So work in the shade, stay cool, and get this part knocked out. Build them muscles. You just slide it down. Yep, go. Keep going. Keep going. There you go. There you go. Keep going. Keep going. You getting tired? No? Good. I mean, don't hurt yourself. That's good. All right, so we've got 10 put in right now. We've got 55 more to go, and then we're gonna go back, measure out where we wanna put our insulators. That way we can run the poly wire. So we got all 65 T-posts in. We just kind of ran it along the contour of the creek side right here. That way we could keep the cows out of the creek. Now we're gonna go and put in these insulators. This is a 5-inch insulator because we went up to Tractor Supply and they didn't have any of the normal insulators. So we just picked up some of these extendable ones, which is fine. So what we've been doing here is running our bottom wire. So putting the first insulator about 18 inches off of the ground, which with the Highland cows, since they're a little shorter, that's been about their nose level. When they go to investigate the wire, that's the one that's been popping them. And then from there, we go about another 18 inches up from that. Since we're only running 2 wires, we want to kind of keep it low. They haven't been jumping it. Once they get popped that first time, that's pretty much it. But 18 inches is, if you can see, these little dongle things, I don't know what you'd call them, but on the front of the T-post, we go 9 up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that's just kind of how we keep it looking pretty even all the way down the fence. If you haven't used these before, basically this is kind of what it looks like, and the T-post, you know, looks like a T. So this piece right here is going to catch around the side of the corner, and you'll just hear it click around, and then it sits on the front just like so, and then the back part will go around the final T part. And sometimes it's a little harder than others, but you just push it. I don't know if you heard that. It's just a click, and then you know it's in. So we don't have any water source in that back pasture right now. Eventually I'd like to do some type of rain catch system, but that's a project for another day. So right now we're just gonna string some hoses out there. And luckily Jen was able to go to Walmart and pick up 3 additional 50-foot hoses that were on sale, which ended up being way cheaper than if she was to purchase like a 150-foot hose. But we're gonna go ahead and string this up back there and get some water flowing into that trough. I'm short. So even with all that, we've got close to 400 feet of hose going from the barn to the back pasture, and I'm still like 10-15 feet short. So I'm gonna go get another hose real quick, and while I'm doing that, go see how we put the gate up. All right, so now that we have all of our insulators up, we're gonna go ahead and cut the rails, which I've already measured this first one for these H braces. But the first thing I like to do is go ahead and drill the first pilot hole. I'm putting 8-inch spikes on either side, and then on one side I'll leave it exposed just a little bit, so in the future, you know, if I do have to wrap the twitch wire, I can. So I'm gonna go 3 foot up from the ground, and this side sits a little bit higher than the other one since it kind of rises as it gets to this side of the gate. But I'm gonna go ahead and mark it at 3 foot over here, and I think that should be, we'll test it. If we have to make some adjustments, we will. Now we can measure it out and cut it to length. So this one right here is going to be 7 foot 1/4. So I made it a little bit tight because it's just me. So I'm just gonna barely get this side started. That way I can go to the other side, level it out, and get that side kind of caught too. Or else you're going back and forth chasing the pole. Now on to the next one. Then finally, the last piece. Well, we have to go over here real quick to get it. And that is, of course, to move this mineral tub. The other thing that we had to do, and the last thing we had to do to get that back pasture was, of course, run the poly wire. So I'm gonna take this over to the pasture. You check out the poly wire real quick, and then we'll get these cows moved. Get it moved? All we have left to do is run the poly wire, which will start right here on the bottom. We'll run it all the way around, and then it'll come up and come back. Try to be like one continuous strand, though I'm gonna run out and have to tie some knots and stuff. Then we'll just run a little trench right here, which shouldn't take too long, fingers crossed, a lot of rocks. And then we should be able to turn the 4 cows that are in the middle pasture out into here. So if you've stayed this long, there's that coming.
You ready? Jump. There you go. Hold it. Come on. Hi, Maggie.
Hey, Ada.
You just tie it like that to join it?
Down. Down.
Why?
Down.
Why?
Down.
Why?
Down.
Why?
Down.
Why?
And now that the back pasture is finally complete, there is only but one thing left to do. Come on, cows. Come on, cows. What do you think? That's a big old pasture. I also have grain for you guys, or girls, and guy. My all-time favorite thing to do so far is just to watch them explore new pastures. It's so much fun. Anyway, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out today. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, I look forward to seeing your beautiful face in the next one.